Hey, so in this video we're going to review how to solve a multi-step equation using distributive property. So you're going to go ahead and follow along on the practice exam that you're going to have with you. The first problem on the worksheet is this. So it's 3 times 5x minus 1 plus 12 equals 13x minus 3. So the first thing you want to do here is, the first thing I do is I draw the barrier, just so I know what I'm focusing on. If I look at the left hand side, I notice that I have parentheses that I need to get rid of. And yes, we use distributive property to get rid of these parentheses. So remember, you have to distribute this 3 to the 5x and to the negative 1. So when we multiply, we get 15x. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3, and then drop all the ones you didn't use. So I drop the 12, I still have my equal sign, and then drop the 13x minus 3. Now I look at this left-hand side. Can I combine anything? Yes, I could combine the negative 3 and the positive 12. So I could combine the negative 3 and the positive 12. Negative 3 plus 12 gives me positive 9. So I get positive 9, and then I have my 15x. So again, bring it down since you didn't do anything to it. Equals 13x minus 3. This is what we have so far. Now look at the two variables. You want to move one of them to the other side. The 13x is the smaller one, and it always wants to come to the bigger side. So in order to move the 13x to this side, I need to do the inverse. And the inverse operation is minus 13x. So here we're going to do a negative 13x or minus 13x to both sides. This goes away, they eliminate. 15x minus 13x gives me positive 2x. Again, drop the ones that you haven't used. So plus 9 equals negative 3. Now at this point, what you want to do is you're going to draw the barrier, circle the variable. I need to move this positive 9 to the other side. The inverse of a positive 9 is minus 9. Minus 9. This eliminates, so we have 2x equals negative 3 plus negative 9. Same sign. Add, keep the sign of the bigger number. So we get negative 12. The inverse of multiplication is division. So you divide both sides by 2, and now remember, for division, you don't have to divide by the opposite sign. You just divide by whatever number is in front of the variable. Divide both sides by 2, and we get x equals 12 divided by 2 is 6. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. So x equals 6 for the first problem. So make sure you're following along and copying this down. If you feel like you know how to do these, go ahead and try them on your own, and then fast forward the video to check for the answer. So we have x equals 6 for this one. Let's go over the second problem. So the second one says this. We have negative 5 times 4a plus 5 equals 23 minus 8a. So again, just like the first problem, we need to get rid of the parentheses, and we use distributive property. So we're going to go ahead and multiply this negative 5 times everything inside the parentheses. Now one thing you can do is, you notice how we have a negative 5 outside the parentheses. What you do is, you're going to change the sign of what's inside the parentheses. So this negative outside tells me this positive 4a is going to become negative 4a. This positive 5 is going to become a negative 5. So then this, we can remove it, and now just multiply. 5 times 4 is 20. We have a negative sign. And then 5 times 5 is 25. And again, we have a negative sign. Equals, drop all these, or just copy them. So we have that so far. Check the left-hand side. Can I combine anything? No. This has a variable, that one doesn't. I can't combine anything else here. So then we need to move things around. look at the two variables. Which one is smaller, negative 20a or negative 8a? This one's smaller, so we want to move it to the other side. And the inverse is plus 20a. Plus 20a. This eliminates. Different sign subtract. 20 minus 8 is 12. So we get a 12a. Drop the 23, and this is positive, so we put the plus sign. Drop the 23 equals, and then drop the negative 25. Notice how I'm bringing down the negative too, since it's part of the 25. Now, at this point, again, draw the barrier, circle the variable. We need to move this 23 to the opposite side. So minus 23, minus 23. This is gone. Negative 25 minus 23, same sign, add, and keep the sign of the bigger number. So negative 48 equals 12a. At this point, divide both sides by 12. Divide both sides by 12. And you get a equals negative 4 for this one. A equals negative 4. That's the solution to this problem. A equals negative 4. So again, make sure you follow along and you're copying these down. Let's go over the third problem on the practice exam. Okay. The third one is we have negative 3, 4x plus 3 equals negative 4 times 6x plus 1 plus 43. Plus 43. So we have a lot of terms on this one. But again, it's the same steps. Draw the barrier. I need to get rid of the parentheses, so I'm going to distribute. When I distribute, again, I have a negative here, so this is going to become negative 4x, negative 3, and this is gone now. 3 times 4 gives me 12, a negative 12, x. 3 times 3 is 9, negative 9, equals, again, we have to distribute on this side. I have a negative here, so this becomes negative, negative. That's gone. I can get rid of that. 4 times 6 is 24. Negative 24, x. 4 times 1 is 4. I have a negative. And then drop this one. You didn't do anything with it, so just copy it over. So that's what we have so far. Now look at the left-hand side of the equation. I can't combine anything, so I leave this alone. Let's move over here. What can I combine here? Yes, these two constants right here, I can combine them. Negative 4 plus 43. Different signs subtract, so you should get positive 39. So we have 24x plus 39 equals negative 12x minus 9. Now, this is where you look at the variables. Which one's smaller? This one, the negative is smaller. So you want to move it to this side. So go ahead and do the inverse. Plus 12x. Plus 12x. Eliminate. This gives me 36x. I have plus 39. Negative 9. Now at this point, let's see, what do I have? What do I have? We have circle the variable, draw the barrier, subtract 39 from both sides. This goes away. Negative 48, they're the same sign, so you add, equals 36x. Oh, that was my mistake. Right here, I forgot a negative sign. So there's a negative missing here, which is going to make this a negative 12. I knew there was something wrong with these huge numbers. Hey, that's one thing you could do. If you start noticing really huge numbers and things that aren't making sense, then go back. So this should have been a negative, which gives me a negative 12x. Then this is right here is a negative 12x. divide both sides by negative 12, and now everything works out nicely. So x equals 48 divided by 12 is 4. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. So my answer is x equals 4. So just to clarify, there was a tiny mistake right here with the sign. This gives me a negative 12x. Divide both sides by negative 12x, and you get x equals positive 4. So that's the answer for the third problem. Make sure you're copying this down. Let's go on to number 4. Number 4 looks like this. So we have 5, 2x plus 6 equals negative 4 times negative 5 minus 2x plus 2x. Okay, cool. So on the left-hand side, again, distributive property. You want to get rid of the parentheses. 5 times 2 is 10x. 5 times 6 is 30. Here we have a negative sign outside, so we got to switch these two signs. This becomes positive. This becomes positive. This is gone. Now notice how there's a 5, but there's no x. It's the same thing. You still multiply each one. 4 times 5 is 20, positive 20. 4 times 2x is positive 8x plus 2x. I'm going to go a little bit faster now since we already had some practice. I can't combine anything here, so let's jump to this side. I can combine these two terms. 8x plus 2x gives me 10x. And I have my 20, copy them over. 10x plus 30. Now, notice how I have 10x on both sides. That tells me that it's a special case. I have a special case. These two eliminate. Boom, that's gone, that's gone. Now you ask yourself, is 30 equal to 20? Is that a true statement or a false statement? Yes, you should say that it's a false statement. 30 is not equal to 20, so therefore you know that this is no solution. No solution for this one. So you know it's no solution because 30 is not equal to 20, and you're done. So this right here should be your final answer. No solution. Okay, let's go on to the next one, number 5. Let's see, number 5, we have negative 5, x minus 3, plus 6 equals 1, minus 5x minus 10. Okay, again, distributive property. Negative tells me to change the signs, so this was positive, now it's negative. This was negative, now it becomes positive. Boom. 5 times x is 5x. I have a negative sign. 5 times 3 is 15, and it's positive. Plus 6, bring them down. We didn't do anything with them. For this one, we have 1 minus 5x minus 10. Yes, I can combine these two terms. 1 minus 10, or 1 plus a negative 10, gives me negative 9. And then I have this negative 5x that I didn't touch. And yes, the order does not matter for these. You could have the negative 9 in the front and the negative 5x back here. It doesn't matter, as long as you have the correct signs in front of them. Now, let's look at the left-hand side. Can I combine anything? Yeah, I can combine these two. 15 and 6. 15 plus 6 gives me 21. Drop the negative 5x. This was a positive 21. Equals negative 5x minus 9. Now, again, when I look at the variables, we have the same thing on both sides. I have negative 5x and a negative 5x. So you know these are going to eliminate each other. What's left over? I have 21 equals negative 9. Is that true or false? Yes, it's false. 21 is not equal to negative 9. Therefore, you know this is no solution. No solution as well. So you know this is no solution. And this is for number 5. Let's go on to the next one. Let's try number 6. Let's try number 6. We have negative 6x plus 1 equals negative 3 minus 6x plus 3. 6x plus 3. Okay, parentheses, so I gotta distribute. Negative, this makes this a negative, and this a negative. We get rid of that guy. 6 times x gives me 6x, but I have the negative sign, don't forget it. 6 times 1 is 6. Again, I have a negative sign. Equals, I need to use distributive property here, but I don't have to do anything to this negative 3 yet. So I'm just going to copy it over. Now, when there's no number in front of the parentheses, you could always add a 1. So I'm going to go ahead and add a 1. Again, there's a negative out here, so I'm going to change this to negative and change this to a negative, and this can become positive. 1 times 6 gives me 6x, negative, and then 1 times 3 gives me 3, and again it's negative since I have a negative sign there. Draw the barrier just so it doesn't get confusing. I can't combine anything here, so leave that alone. Let's jump to this side. What can I combine? Yes, I have these two constants that I can combine. Negative 3 and negative 3. When I combine them, I get a negative 6. So, and it doesn't matter where you place it, in the front or the back. So negative 6, and then I didn't touch this one. Copy them down. Equals, copy all of this down. Look at that, we have another special case. So we have negative 6x and negative 6x. Those eliminate. Now look at what's left over. We have negative 6 equals negative 6. Is that true or false? Yes, it's true. They're both equal. So that you know you have many solutions for this one. So many solutions. So for this one, we get many solutions since it's a true statement. Let's go over the next one. Again, make sure you're copying this or following along, or go ahead and try them on your own and then check for the answers. So let's try this one. We have negative 8x plus 2 equals negative 6, 2x minus 4. Oh, this one looks simple. So go ahead and distribute. Negative tells me to change all these signs. 8 times x gives me 8x. I have a negative sign. 8 times 2 gives me 16, and I also have a negative sign. Equals, distribute on this side too. I have a negative here, so that changes these signs. 6 times 2 gives me 12x. I have a negative. 6 times 4 gives me 24. It's positive. Now, go ahead and combine. So you want to start moving things around. Which one's smaller, negative 8x or negative 12x? Yes, this one's smaller, so it needs to come to the other side. Plus 12x, plus 12x. This is gone. Different signs subtract, so we get 4x minus 16 equals 24. Now here, you want to draw the barrier, circle the variable. I need to move that negative 16 over to the other side. The inverse is plus 16, plus 16. This is gone, so we get 4x equals 24 plus 16 is 40. Divide both sides by 4. Then you get x equals 10 for this one. So x equals 10 for this problem. Let's try the next one. Okay, so the next one says we have a negative parentheses 7x plus 3 equals negative 4, 2x plus 11. Okay, distribute the negative sign. This becomes a negative, this becomes a negative, that's gone. So here I have, and again, you could always add a 1 in front of it. 1 times 7x gives me a 7x with the negative sign. 1 times 3 is 3 with a negative sign. equals, again, change the sign since you have a negative outside. This becomes negative, this becomes negative. 4 times 2x is 8x. There's a negative there. 4 times 11 is 44 with the negative. Now look at the variables. You got negative 7x and negative 8x. This one is smaller, so you want to bring this one to this side. Plus 8x, plus 8x. This eliminates. We get different sides subtract, so you get 1x. Drop the ones you didn't use, minus 3 equals negative 44. Now, circle the variable and draw the barrier. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. Plus 3, plus 3. This eliminates 44 minus 3, since they're different signs, I get negative 41 equals x. Notice how I just wrote x because 1 times x is the same thing as just writing x by itself. So the answer is x equals negative 41 for this example. Let's go ahead and try a t-table. 2 t-table problems, and then we're going to be all done with this. So let's go over 2 t-table problems. Okay, so the first t-table that I'm going to use looks like this. So I have x and y, and I have negative 9, 7, 3, negative 1, 12, negative 7, and then 15, negative 9, 15, negative 9. Now, if I give you a t-table, the first thing you want to check for is if I give you the y-intercept. Notice how none of the values for x are 0. That means that the y-intercept is not given in this t-table. So we're going to have to solve for it algebraically. But the first thing you want to do is remind yourself of what the equation of a line looks like. And yes, you should know by now that it's y equals mx plus b. And the 2 main components of this equation are your slope and your y-intercept. Based on this information given here, we could find the slope right away. So the first thing you want to do is pick the 2 coordinates that look the easiest to work with. So what I'm going to use are going to be this first one right here and then the second one. So go ahead and rewrite them. You want to rewrite them just to make it neat. So we have negative 9, 7, and then my second coordinate, 3, negative 1. So we have those 2 coordinates. Now remember, the formula for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Let's label these just so we don't get confused. We have x1, y1, x2, y2. Now we can just substitute all those pieces into this equation to find our slope. y2 minus y1, so negative 1 minus 7 over x2 minus x1. x2 minus x1. Now we have all these integers that we're subtracting, so the rule that we want to use is the same change rule. So same change, same change. Negative 1 plus negative 7 gives me negative 8. 3 plus 9 gives me 12. And in class, I saw a lot of you guys leaving it like this. Make sure you reduce the fractions. When you find slope, you want to reduce it all the way down. So what can I divide both the numerator and denominator by? By 4. I want to divide by 4. If you do 2, you'll get the same answer. Just make sure you simplify all the way. So divide both of them by 4, and you should get negative 2/3. So this right here is my slope. So I found slope. Now what you want to do is you want to put this piece back into this one, into y equals mx plus b. So that means so far I have this, y equals negative 2/3 x plus b. I'm still missing the y-intercept though. So we need to solve for it algebraically. So what you have to do now is go back to the 2 points that you chose, pick one of those, the easiest one. I'm going to say it's this one right here, and use these two pieces to solve for b. So if I'm focusing on this one right here, I need to use the y and the x from this coordinate to solve for b. So what's the y value of this coordinate? Right? It's -1. So we have -1 equals -2/3. What's the x coordinate? We have 3 plus b. So we have this so far. Now, you're basically solving a two-step equation, and you want to find what b is. So let me turn this into a fraction just so it makes it easier for me to multiply. So I have -1 equals 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. Don't forget that negative sign. Plus b. So I have -1 equals -6/3 plus b. I can simplify this fraction or reduce it. So let me see, where do I move? I think you guys can see this piece. So I'll move over here. We have a -1 equals -6 divided by 3 gives me a -2 plus b. And then, like we did earlier in this video, again, circle the variable, draw the barrier. I need to get rid of this -2. So do +2, +2. This eliminates. 2 minus 1 gives me 1. So I know that b, the y-intercept, is 1. Now put it all together, and the equation of the line should be y equals my slope, which was -2/3, x plus b plus 1. This right here is your final answer. That's the equation of this line. Let's go over one more t-table problem, and then we'll be all set. So make sure, if you're confused in one of these parts, rewind the video and make sure you check what's confusing you and get that cleared. So let's go over one more t-table problem. Okay, so the next t-table problem is this. So we have x and y. We have -10, 19, -5, 11, 15, -21, and then 20, -29. So those are the coordinates given by the t-table. So let's pick two of these coordinates to find slope. That's the first thing you want to do. I'm just going to pick the first two, the top two. So I have -10, 19, and -5, 11. So those are the two coordinates I'm going to use to find slope. Now, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Notice how I use parentheses, so I know that I have that negative, and I'm subtracting by a negative. Use the same change rule, so same, change, change, same, change, change. 11 plus -19 gives me a -8. -5 plus +10 gives me +5. Can we simplify this? No, we can't. So we know we're done finding slope. So this right here is your slope. M equals this right here. Now, we need to substitute this back into the equation to be able to find b, or the y-intercept. So we have y equals -8 over 5x plus b. Go back to one of these 2 points and solve for b. I'm going to choose this one. I feel like this one's easier to use. -5, 11. So my y value from this coordinate is 11. So I have 11 equals -8 over 5. My x coordinate is -5 plus b. So I pretty much replaced the x and the y into my equation. Make this into a fraction so it's easier to multiply. Let me move up here. I have 11 equals 8 times 5 is 40. 5 times 1 is 5. A negative times a negative gives me a positive. So that's positive. And then plus b. Now notice how I could simplify this fraction right here. So I have 11 equals 40 divided by 5 gives me 8 plus b. Now at this point, again, circle the variable, draw the barrier. I need to get rid of that 8. The inverse is a negative 8 or minus 8 on both sides. 11 minus 8 is 3. So I get b equals 3. Now you're not done yet. You still have to put all the pieces back together to create the equation of the line. So the final equation is going to look like this. Y equals my slope, which was negative 8 over 5, x plus 3, since my y-intercept is positive 3. And this right here is the equation of, given this t-table, that's the equation of the line. And that's it for today.